So thanks everybody for joining us this morning. We are super excited to have Hillsboro Hops General Manager Wombacher join us to do a little presentation today about some of the things going on in his world and how they may apply to small businesses. And we also want to thank the City of Sherwood. Bruce Coleman, our Economic Development Manager, is on with us today. He is our partner in crime on these education sessions.
No crime, no crime.
Exactly, yeah, no crime.
For the record.
We also want to extend some appreciation and thanks to Metro, who gave us a grant that allowed us to do this and to be able to host these sessions without having to charge people to participate. So we appreciate their involvement. Bruce, do you have any announcements or any comments or anything you want to make before we get started?
No, except that we're excited to hear these remarks. I think there's always opportunities for small businesses in this community, and we continue to grow Sherwood as I would say a business-friendly community with lots of new industrial parks coming on stream here. So we're very excited about that. Anyway, you can always find me. I think I put my contact on the chat.
Okay, thanks. Bruce. All right, well, without any further ado, KL, we're glad to have you here. KL and I have known each other for a little while, and having been in the sports industry a little bit, I know that he is well thought of and regarded in the industry and has proven himself worthy of those accolades. And the Hillsboro Hops have done a tremendous job in incorporating themselves into not just the city of Hillsboro, but the whole Portland metropolitan region. And I know, having been in minor league baseball, that there are a lot of similarities in running a minor league baseball team as running a print shop or an insurance agency or any other business that's out there. So we're excited to hear from KL. And KL, before you start, let me just ask if there are questions. Do you want to save them for the end, or you want people to pipe up as we go?
Yeah, fire away. I've got the chat opened up so they can throw them in the chat or just talk over me. Either way.
Okay. All right, great. Yeah. So well, with that, then we'll turn the time to you.
Great. Well, thanks, Corey. I think by a little while that we've known each other, it's probably close to 15 years now, I would imagine. So happy to be here. I'm a big fan of Sherwood. I've been to Sherwood many times. We've been to the cruising event. We've sponsored it in the past. And when we moved the team here in 2012 for the 2013 season, our goal was to be a regional team and a regional asset. Even though Hillsboro is part of our name, that's per our lease. We really want to be a supporter and a member of all the communities in the region. We've donated a lot of money to Sherwood youth baseball programs, youth softball programs, and we'll continue to do that. So it is important to us to reach out as much as we can and be a part of other communities, not just Hillsboro. Over 70% of our fans come from non-Hillsboro zip codes. And so I think hopefully between our outreach and between the support we offer to communities, we can continue to expand that over the years. Today, I had a few talking points, but feel free to interrupt anytime if you have any questions. I think we've all heard enough about the last year with COVID, so I'm going to stay away from that topic. We're a seasonal business, and losing a season, we were challenged like everyone else, but we made it through it, and we're here. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today is at the time it wasn't exciting. It was pretty nerve-wracking, but now it's exciting, and that's the changes with Major League Baseball. For 120 years, Major League Baseball and Minor League Baseball were two separate organizations, and they had a contract that was renewed every 8 years or so called the Player Development Agreement. And that agreement was the governing document for player development. But there was a minor league baseball office in St. Petersburg that had dozens of employees. We paid dues as part of part of minor league baseball. And Major League Baseball got to the point where they realized they could build their own system that would be more efficient and better for player development going forward. And so after that 120 years, Major League Baseball decided to non-renew the contract September 30th, 2020. So not only were we going through the COVID situation, but we were going through a lot of this uncertainty with Major League Baseball and what was going to happen with our affiliation. Of the 160 teams that were part of minor league baseball, Major League Baseball picked 120 to be part of this new system. So that was what created a lot of the anxiety with teams like ours. We knew they were going to eliminate short season baseball, and we were a short season team, which is one of the lowest ranks, kind of like rookie ball. So that kind of led to that angst. There was an initial list of teams that were going to be eliminated, and Salem Kaiser was on that list, which having a team in Oregon was not a good thing. So long story short, the new system came out in December 3rd. I'll never forget that day. And they released the list of the 120. And fortunately, we were on it. And we had 6 of the 8 teams from our league were on it. The 2 that didn't make the cut were Salem and Boise, unfortunately. They also elevated us to high A. We went from a short season A team to a high A club. We stayed with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and we now have a 10-year agreement with the Diamondbacks, which before we'd have either a 2 or a 4-year agreement. Going from short season A to high A is incredible. I never would have imagined that we could move levels. In the past, with the old system, you would have to basically buy a different team that was part of a different league. But now Major League Baseball, all of the 120 teams, we fold up right into Major League Baseball. Our contract is with Major League Baseball, the commissioner's office. And minor league baseball is gone. The president is gone. The staff is gone. The office has been sold. The building has been sold in St. Petersburg. So we are now officially part of Major League Baseball as of February, when we all signed this 10-year agreement. So very, very, very exciting. We went from having basically 38 games to make money to now having 60 games this year and 66 games in the future for a normalized season. So we'll go from 76 total games to 132 total games. It's basically like having your business doubled overnight, which is an incredible opportunity. The level of talent between short season A, which is basically kind of glorified college ball. We would never called it that when we were operating the franchise, because they were professionals, but they were just out of college, most of them. Now these guys are 2-3 years out of college, and these are legit big league type caliber players. High A is really where things start to filter, because then you have a double A, a triple A, and then the big leagues. So you're a couple of steps away from the big leagues, especially with most guys getting promoted from double A straight to the big leagues. So just we started May 4th was our first game of the season. And just in the time we've been operating, the level of talent has been incredible. The starting pitching, the hitters, the guys are a lot bigger. It's really been cool to see. So we're very bullish on the future. We now have opportunities from a national broadcasting standpoint with Major League Baseball, from a national sponsorship standpoint with Major League Baseball. The meetings they get and the seats, the tables that they sit at are a lot different than the tables that minor league baseball executives used to sit at. Minor league baseball might meet with a regional Toyota dealer. Major League Baseball meets with Toyota. And so I think Major League Baseball is very bullish on this as well, where they now are trying to build one baseball, where we have 30 major league teams and 120 minor league teams. They now have 150 of the top markets in the country that they represent baseball in. A couple of the other exciting parts is they are trying to unify and expand youth baseball efforts and youth participation. Baseball has suffered from a lot less kids playing baseball, whether it's other sports, whether it's year-round sports, a lack of youth initiatives. So Major League Baseball is now wrapping their arms around the 150 markets throughout the country, and how can they lend their brand and their expertise to more kids playing. And we all know that kids playing lead to fandom later down the line. So that's been a major initiative for us here in our region. So to now have Major League Baseball support on youth baseball initiatives is tremendous, and youth softball initiatives. One of the other great benefits to this is Major League Baseball has come out with new facility standards that are predominantly around player amenities, better clubhouses, locker rooms, coaches' offices, female locker rooms, weight rooms, batting cages, that sort of thing from a training standpoint. That's forcing us to make some major modifications to our facility, even though it's only 9 years old. And that conversation is leading to an even bigger conversation with the city of Hillsboro of, if we're going to make an investment of $5-10 million, whatever it is, let's look at the long-term viability of this facility and our franchise, and what can we do to position this facility as more of a year-round entertainment destination. So those conversations are ongoing, and we should have some really exciting information and renderings to release to the public here, hopefully this summer. As far as some of the things that we've learned over the last year that kind of ties into some lessons, I think, for just about every business is, one, we learned how much our community supports us. Losing a season was a challenge. If we had a high percentage of refund requests, it would have put us out of business. A lot of our revenue had already been collected by the time our season got canceled. And so the fact that fans were able to basically push that money to 2021, sponsors, 100% of our sponsors pushed that money to 2021, 94% of our ticket holders did the same thing. That saved us. That between that and PPP, it saved us financially. So as a result, it's made us a lot more appreciative of every dollar we get, every sponsor we have, every ticket holder we have. I think it's made us better communicators. We had to communicate constant changes in 2020 and then even going into 2021, and we're still doing that as things change in the sports realm of what you can't do, what you can do, masks, no masks, capacity limits, social distance seating, non-social distance seating. And so I think it's really made us a lot better communicators with our fans, and that's been appreciative. It's made us better leaders as we continue to navigate a lot of the changes with COVID protocols. Our philosophy has been, one, safety. We want to make sure that we keep fans safe, but as the vaccination rate continues to expand, and we've had a high percentage of fans vaccinated through surveys that we've done over the last 2 months, we knew that our ballpark would be very safe because most of our fans have been vaccinated for over a month or two now. And so we tried to be on the forefront of loosening mask policy in an outdoor environment following the CDC's guidance. The first day the CDC came out with mask guidance and OHA followed that, we were one of the first businesses to open up and be more flexible in our mask policy. Same thing with social distance seating. At the first opportunity we had when it came to removing social distance seating for vaccinated people, we jumped on it right away and got season ticket holders back to the normal seats, which they've been asking for a month. So we've tried to really be leaders in our community of what post-COVID looks like. And I can tell you from our last homestand, coming out to a game feels like an old Hops game, finally. We're over 90% of our fans have been fully vaccinated. So safety, check. Our team reached the 85% mark, which is MLB's method of releasing all the COVID protocols for the team. We got that. D-backs are one of the first teams to do that in Major League Baseball. Check. Our front office is fully vaccinated. Check. We were one of the first businesses, maybe the first, to allow employees to go maskless if they're fully vaccinated, which we verify. And so part of our, we feel our responsibility and our opportunity within our community is to, in a public environment like this, outdoor obviously, but kind of give people a taste of what post-COVID is going to look like. And it's been really interesting. It's kind of like a social experiment to see people that come out their first night and they refuse to take their mask off, and within 2 games, they don't bring their mask in from their car. They're becoming more and more comfortable in this environment again. And so that's been really, really gratifying for us to see. Someone brought up flexible and adaptable earlier on this call. And our front office has done a tremendous job just adapting to everything that's been changing, and same thing with our fans. So it's been a really, really fun last 6 weeks as we get the ballpark back open, we get fans back in the building, and we start to relax a lot of the very strict protocols we've been under and start to see what post 70%, I guess, in the state of Oregon, what that is going to look like. We kind of give people a preview of that. When it comes to the business side of what we do, part of our goal and opportunity in the next few years is to try to become more of a year-round business. We learned very quickly with COVID losing a season that when you have 38 days to make money, we've always thought we might lose 2 or 3 to a rain out or some sort of situation. We never would have imagined that we would lose all 38 days to make money. And so it's taught us that going forward, we've got to be much more diverse as a business. We need to develop other types of events, other types of opportunities to make money. Our retail team did a great job expanding our online e-commerce platform when it comes to retail. So we've really ramped up the retail side of our business. We're taking food and beverage in-house. Now we're ramping up the food and beverage side of our business. We saw a lot of ballparks that opened for food to go, ballpark food to go last summer when their stadiums were closed, or drive-in movies where then they could serve popcorn and beer and soda and stuff like that. And so one of our opportunities, I think, going forward is to be more of a year-round entertainment company and be able to be not so reliant on big mass events, to be able to do some smaller events, day camps, movie nights, corporate rentals, that sort of thing, to diversify our revenue streams. Our main revenue streams right now are tickets is the big one. About probably 60 to 70% of our revenue is ticket sales. Sponsorships is number 2. Food and beverage is number 3, and retail is number 4. So those are really the 4 pillars of our business when it comes to the revenue side of things. We don't have a lot of support from Major League Baseball or the Arizona Diamondbacks when it comes to the business. We really run our own business, and we're owned by Mike and Laura McMurray, who live here in Hillsboro. They've always lived in the town. They've owned the team. They bought this team in 1999. Huge baseball fans. They're in it for the baseball. They're not in it to make money, which helps us as operators. But the Diamondbacks pay for players and coaches' salaries and signing bonuses, and then we cover everything else. So luckily, a major expense would be the signing bonuses. We've got 5 or 6 guys on our team that signed for over $1 million. So the payroll would be pretty significant if we had to cover that. But we also don't control the roster as a result. So we don't get to set the pitching rotation. I don't get to go make trades. I don't get to release a guy if he's not performing. So there's a trade-off there, but we're responsible for team travel, uniforms, facility costs, staffing, food and beverage, taxes, all that good stuff. So it's about a $4 to $5 million business. So it's not a huge business, but it's also, not necessarily a super small business as well. So that's kind of an overview. I wasn't, I know people are really busy and go from Zoom to Zoom. So I don't want to take a ton of time, but I can open it up for questions, maybe Corey, or if there's anything else that you were hoping I'd touch on.
No, I think that's great. It's having come from that world, that's all fascinating stuff to me. I could sit and talk about this for hours, but one of the questions that I had was, especially I think a lot of small businesses can relate to the change that you talked about, the 130 years or whatever of the way they've done it, and now it's kind of flipped on its side. And I think small businesses can relate when they have new ownership come in, or new rules and regulations they got to follow, or a pandemic, those kinds of things. So yeah, I think you may have touched on this a little bit, but are there any lessons learned as you adjusted? Once you got through the anxiety of are we going to make the cut, making that change and going kind of a little different direction. Anything stand out as in lessons learned?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the biggest thing is focusing on the opportunity, not the change. And, out of the 120 teams that made this cut, I've got tons of friends that run teams or work for teams. And it was really interesting to me, the teams that were so focused on the opportunity, and then the teams that were really focused on what's changing and kind of the downside of everything. You know, teams complaining that we now have to have 2 buses on road trips. It's like, give me a break. Let's move on. Let's focus on, you know, some other things. So I think, you know, as leaders and business people that run companies, the more we can focus on the opportunities and put our effort and our thought power into that, it's going to make our franchises and businesses so much better off. It's kind of like we only have so much brain power. We're in, you know, I know as I get older, I feel like I have less and less brain power. But if I dedicate any of that brain power to what's wrong with a situation or what I'm missing out on a situation, it's less brain power I can focus on the opportunity. And so I try to spend all of my thinking and really focus on looking forward and where can we pour our energy into that's going to make us a better organization or take advantage of this situation. And I think that's, you know, COVID taught us that too, is we can dwell on everything that's going wrong, but we're wasting time and energy trying to focus on what can we do to get through this.
Excellent. Well, I've got other questions, but I'll leave some time for everyone else to ask. If anyone else wants to fire a question at KL, feel free to unmute, or you can do that in the chat if you'd like.
If you don't mind, not to interrupt, but if you don't mind sharing what organization you're with too, that'd be awesome for me.
Hey, Corey, I'll jump in. KL, thank you much. Mark Farah, I work for Metropolitan Land Group, and we've got offices not very far from the stadium. And so a couple clarifying questions, if you don't mind. You mentioned different levels within A, and I'm not super close to baseball. So are there multiple levels at AAA and AA, or are there just multiple levels within A?
There is basically 4 levels now. There used to be about 6 or 7 levels. So at AAA, down from the big leagues, AAA, AA, high A, and low A.
Yeah. Okay.
And then some teams have kept like a rookie ball, like a complex team, like in Arizona or something like that, where they'll put their draft picks. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you say that there are 5 or 6 guys on the team that are $1 million contract guys?
Yeah, at least. Yeah, we've got. I'd have to look at our roster, but I know we have at least 3 or 4 first rounders, and pretty much every first round draft pick was over $1 million. We probably have guys that signed for 2 or 3.
Yeah.
We had one kid that got hurt. Tore his shoulder on a home run, but he signed for $6 million out of high school in 2019. Corbin Carroll.
And in prior years, was there anything even close to that at high A? Or
at short season A, where we were, yeah, we would, because we'd get some of the draft picks. So as they draft those guys and sign them, we had Dansby Swanson, who was the #1 pick in 2015. He signed for $6.1 million. Corbin Carroll was a big one for us. We had a kid from the Bahamas in 2019, Christian Robinson, who signed for $4 or $5 million out of the Bahamas. So yeah, we've had some.
And then just one more, if you don't mind, are you at 100% seats available today that you're actually selling, or are you still having to do any COVID protocol? And then secondly, kind of what capacity are you running at? Are you running at 80, 90%? And so I'm thinking about getting tickets here in the next couple of weeks, and I'm wondering, do I need to get them now, or generally is there still 10 to 20% of the stadium that's available on game night?
Yeah, great question, Mark. Is there anyone from the governor's office on this call?
This is being recorded, by the way, I think.
Yeah. No, we are, I don't think the demand is quite there for us to sell out the stadium. The first 2 home stands, we sold out every game because we were at 15% capacity. Once we went to 50%, which is about 2,700 to 3,000, depending on what capacity you use, the demand hasn't quite been there to sell those games out yet. I think this homestand might change that, so we might have to watch that a little bit and cut things off. But we did get rid of social distance seating starting last homestand. We left 2 sections available if there were people that were concerned about that and wanted to stay in that pod seating format. I think we sold 2 pods, the whole homestand. So that kind of showed us that, all right, people are over that. People are ready to get back and sit in a normal seat and stuff like that. We just put July 4th on sale yesterday, and we sold about, 1,500 tickets in one day for that game.
Nice.
So that was a good sign because we can put about 5,000 in for that game. But yeah, I mean, we'll have inventory for sure. There'll be a couple games like July 4th that will sell out, but yeah, we'll have some inventory.
Nice. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Hey, Al, I also have the same first 2 initials. My name is Kathy Bazan. I'm with the Small Business Consulting Group at the Business Recovery Center covering South Tualatin. So I provide free business counseling for businesses. But my question goes back to your year-round use of the facility, which I'm so totally excited about. Are you starting to market that for event space, for fundraisers, for weddings, for school proms and corporate events yet?
Not quite yet. We have done a couple of events in the past. The challenge we have right now is the city controls our venue in the off season. So we're working on negotiating with the city of gaining full control over the venue. So we're looking to make a, tens of millions of dollars investment in the ballpark to expand it and to build new spaces. Then we can program year round, like a 6,000 square foot club space that is a club space on game days. People can buy club access, club seats, but then we can rent that space out year round for nonprofit events, banquets, team building events, that sort of thing. So we're going to look to build some of those spaces that are climate controlled so we can use the venue year round, and also work on some partnerships. We've had conversations with Live Nation about becoming an actual partner in this new venue. They've been looking in the Portland Metro for an outdoor concert venue and have struck out pretty much everywhere. So we've had some great conversations with them on a long-term partnership where they could be our concert booker. So then we could do 15 to 20 concerts a year, which would be tremendous.
That's terrific. I'm tickled to know the different opportunities that you folks are looking into. Now, you mentioned that the city controls the facility not during your baseball season, but during your baseball season, could you rent it out for corporate events without the city getting its panties in a bunch?
Absolutely, we could. Yeah, absolutely, we could. We have opportunity within our lease to do so. This has been, and we've actually had a couple of events come our way. I think people want outdoor events right now. We do a lot of events during our games. We have private hospitality areas that are selling extremely well right now, anywhere from 20 people to like 200 people. But the challenge we have on non-Hops games is Vancouver is playing here. Vancouver Canadians in our league. The border is still closed, so we can't travel there, and so they've relocated here and are playing when we're on the road, like this week. They're playing here. They're quote unquote home games. So it's pretty exciting. We're gonna have, if they don't get to move back to Canada, we'll have 120 professional baseball games here in Hillsboro, which is incredible. But we're hopeful that they get to go back to Canada.
Wonderful. One last question, I'll let you go. Had you thought of working with local leadership coaches, business coaches, to provide events for businesses? Microsoft's moving into Hillsboro, where they would bring a certain set of executives over to the baseball stadium and do a leadership coaching event or a sales coaching event.
Love it. Yeah,
Okay.
love it. Absolutely. We are open to any and all those ideas. I mean, our long-term goal and vision and strategy is to become kind of like the community living room. Like we want people to come to this new venue, for this current venue and the new venue, for any and everything that is going to make our community better, whether that's educational sessions, it's events, it's nonprofit events, fundraising events, anything and everything we'd like to be able to open our doors for.
Absolutely. I work with a number of different coaches, so let me know if I can get you a Rolodex list of people to
Oh,
help
that'd be
you get in
wonderful.
that
Yes.
direction. And
Thank
had
you.
you thought about working with one of the or more of the pet rescue organizations and putting into your program, maybe on Fridays, a furry friend up for adoption?
Absolutely.
Because often when you get those pet rescue organizations involved, they'll send members to go buy tickets and you'll increase your sales.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know that I think we've maybe done one date since we moved to Hillsboro. We used to do it every year when our team was in Yakima, and we would have adoptions almost every time we did it. Our beat writer from the newspaper actually adopted a dog, and
Hey.
I still hear from him about how his dog's doing. So yeah, great suggestion. Really appreciate that. I think that's something that we can definitely expand on and do a better job with.
Certainly. If there's any help I can be, let me know. Corey and Bruce both know me.
Thank you, Kathy.
Kathy is always full of a lot of ideas. We're blessed
so
to have
glad
her at the Business Recovery Center.
I'm so glad you finished that with Kathy is full of ideas. So
And thanks, Mark, for your questions. Mark is actually on our board of directors. We appreciate his participation today. I know he's a big sports guy, so not surprised that he joined us today. Again, I have a couple other questions. Does anyone else have any before I throw that out there? One of the questions that I had, KL, is we're hearing a lot about staffing issues right now. A lot of hard times for people to hire help, and I know in the sports industry, typically that isn't an issue. You get inundated with a lot of resumes, people interested in wanting to work in the industry. Sometimes keeping them is a challenge because they don't realize how much hard work it is. Anything that you've learned over the years that could be helpful for any small business that is looking to staff?
Oh man, I wish I had a silver bullet for this one. We are struggling like everyone else. We typically would have hundreds of applications for our summer jobs, ballpark jobs. And the analogy I heard this morning on a different call was the mirror test. They put a mirror under someone's nose, and if it fogs up, they hire them. That was Darren down that runs Bullwinkles. But unfortunately, this has been a challenge, and everyone I talk to, it's the same challenge. There's no candidates, there's no labor pool, and we're struggling just like everyone else to fill our ballpark jobs. So, and it's a challenge because the first couple of weeks when we had limited capacity, being short-staffed wasn't that glaring of an issue. Now that we're ramping up, it's becoming more and more of a major challenge, especially in our food and beverage operation. I mean, we just have long lines because we can't service the amount of fans that are coming out. So we've seen a little relief in the last 2 weeks with, but it's just more high school kids and college kids. So.
So on that note then, knowing that you're struggling like everybody else, the people that you do have, what are you finding works to keep them motivated, to keep them from being burned out? Any tips for our businesses out there on that end?
I think a lot of it is just trying to make it fun for people. It's easy to say, probably a little bit more harder to do, but culture has a lot to do with things these days. Making it enjoyable for people to come to work. I know, it used to be that getting paid was our reward for working, and we should be thankful that we're just getting a paycheck. And those of us that kind of came up that way, if we still have that attitude with how we run our businesses, we're just not going to have a good workforce. We have to change our mindset that that's just not good enough anymore. I hate to say that, but we have to look in the mirror and realize that the workforce is just so much different than it used to be, and I think it's going to change even more rapidly over the next 6 months as people come back out of their houses and back into the office, or not into the office, or hybrid, and So I know many other businesses are probably struggling with that more than we are, of, getting people back into the office, and what does that workflow look like in the future. But I think there's kind of a race to getting the best people right now. So it's, whether it's increasing pay, it's providing more perks, but I don't know. I'm a big believer that the culture and the work environment is almost more important than the pay. We can be competitive on pay, and we're always going to try to be competitive on pay, but at the end of the day, we have a lot of minimum wage jobs that work the ballpark, and it doesn't work for us to bump that to $20 an hour to try to compete with Amazon or something else. It will put us under. We can't do it. And we can't raise our prices enough to accommodate that. So we've got to compete in other ways. So we try to make it fun. We try to, make sure we engage with a lot of our staff members and just make it enjoyable to come to the ballpark every day.
Hey, Al, could I make a couple of suggestions?
Yeah, please.
This is Kathy again. Before I became a business counselor, I actually was a career counselor with Snelling and Snelling. So I've done the recruiting of personnel. But number one, I'd strongly suggest you reach out to a website called Hire Patriots. And it's like hire, like to give a job to, not the opposite of lower.
Yeah.
They're down in San Diego, but you can put job ads on there for active military, for retired military, all over the country. These folks separating from the military are often looking for opportunities, and they don't see that what they learned in the military transfers over into a business like yours. But if you want an introduction to Mark Baird, who is the CEO, and his wife Tori, let me know. Number two.
Outstanding.
I am a walking Rolodex. Yes, we found this out. Number two, listen to the people that you're interviewing. What do they want? It may not be a traditional perk. If you look at the millennial hiring that we're seeing, those folks are interested in having a sabbatical in 5 years, where they can go work at a hospital in India or climb Mount Whitney. So think about different ways that you can incentivize people to stay with you. Mm-hmm. That's just one of the suggestions I would have. And look in unusual places for your employees and interns. I don't know if you've reached out to the internship programs at the local colleges, but that might be another option for you as well. Also, any of the culinary schools, you might find somebody who wants a part-time job working to prepare food or customer service or something having to do with baseball operations. Mm-hmm. So you've got a lot of different folks there, and don't forget about AARP. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of people 55 and up who are just looking for a little part-time job to have some fun, and you definitely qualify for that.
Yeah, that's great, Kathy. Thank you. The Hire Patriots is wonderful. We have actually made an effort to try to hire more veterans, and but it's been a challenge of knowing where to go. So that's a great resource. I appreciate that.
And if you do hire veterans, and it sounds like you have, remember that there is the work opportunity tax credit. The federal government gives you money for hiring veterans and other people who find it difficult to get into the job market. And of course, utilize the employee retention tax credit, because your organization would be getting money from the federal government again for each person you have on payroll. And that could be up to $33,000 for 2020 and 2021.
Thanks, Kathy.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions? Okay.
I've got one quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I am Matt Miner. I'm with Primerica Financial Services. Recently moved to Sherwood, actually, and so I'm looking at joining the chamber, and that's how I found out about this. So this is awesome. We also live in Beaverton, kind of go back and forth. My question is regarding the baseball league that your team plays against. Like, how far out are the other teams coming from? Is it just West Coast or what's the furthest competitor team?
Our league is Vancouver, BC, typically, Spokane, Everett, Aqua Sox, Tri-Cities in Washington, and then Eugene in Oregon. So we have a 6-team league now. We used to have an 8-team league. We compete in High A, so there's 30 teams across the country that are in High A. We're High A West. There's kind of a Midwest and an East Coast as well.
The team down in Kaiser, are they in your league?
They used to be, but they did not make the cut, so they're not part of Major League Baseball anymore.
Got it. And then the players, I mean, you talked about income. They're all full-time baseball players, or some of these people actually have jobs?
They're all professional baseball players. So they've been signed to contracts by the Arizona Diamondbacks, typically 6-year agreements as their initial contract. And they come from all over the world, Dominican Republic, Taiwan. We've had players from Japan, Australia, Canada, Colombia, Venezuela, you name it. So our roster is pretty diverse.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks, Matt.
Hey,
Okay.
KL, I threw a question in chat, but I'll go ahead and ask to follow up on Matt's question. That stadium in Kaiser and that former franchise, is that now some other? Have they joined some other league, a non-MLB league, and are they still going to exist, or is that stadium going to be empty now?
That's a great question, Mark. I'm not quite sure the answer. I know that they have not joined any other league that I'm aware of. There's a College Wood Bat League that exists in the Northwest. The Portland Pickles play in that, so it's kind of an amateur league. That owner for Salem, Jerry Walker, used to be a part of that league when he owned the Gresham team. So I'm not sure what if that's potential for them in the future. I would imagine he'd have a hard time just ego-wise going from professional ball to College Wood Bat. But I've heard that they're trying to do some things out of that stadium, kind of on their own. Yeah, but I don't know how it's going. But yeah, it's too bad. I mean, for us, it was a easy road trip, a nice commute trip for us, and our fans would go down there a lot for games, and we built a nice rivalry. They were a Giants affiliate for a long time.
So only because we've still got a few minutes left. Do players do appearances? Do players go? For the hops. Well, can they be scheduled out? Let's say if there's a youth baseball, Sherwood junior baseball. Mm-hmm. Is there a possibility to have a pitcher come out, or have someone come out and spend some time with kids, or just make an appearance at a Chamber of Commerce event? Yep.
Yeah, I mean, typically the answer is yes, and we try to accommodate as much of that stuff as we can. This is a funky year with all the kind of COVID protocols and bubbles and all that stuff. But in a typical year, absolutely, we try to get our players out as much as we can and inspire, especially to youth, where we can inspire those kids to be fans and play the game and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, Corey's got a poster in his background that I'm working on as well, the Cruise in Sherwood in late August. So it would be great if the team could have some appearance or some role there. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We've definitely supported that event in the past. I don't know how recently we have them. Corey does a pretty good job of making sure that he gets into our bank account occasionally. So
you're on my list.
Thank you.
But this is just, this is kind of a funky transition year. So a lot of the things that we would normally do or want to do, we just have to take a year off until we get our feet under us. But we're close. We're really close.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. Anything else? Okay, well, we'll go ahead and call it. Thanks again, KL. Fantastic presentation, fascinating stuff. And the recording will be available. We'll make it available on our website for others in case they missed it today. And But good luck to you in the rest of the season, and I will be in touch. We have a little event we need to talk about too. So
Absolutely. Well, it was my pleasure. It was great to meet you all, and look forward to seeing you at the ballpark.
Okay. Thanks, Cal.
Take care.
Goodbye.